Hi everybody, this is Steve Ludwig, host of Steve Ludwig's Classic Pop Culture and the Beatles Hour with Steve Ludwig at planetludwig.com. Here's an interview we did with Dr. Elmo from December 17th, 2013. It's from show number 20. To hear the entire show, check out the menu at planetludwig.com. And now, please enjoy the interview. And of course, everyone, Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. The song can mean only one thing. We are so pleased and so honored to have with us the singer, songwriter of that classic, incredibly classic Christmas song. Dr. Elmo is with us on the show. Dr. Elmo, thank you so much for being with us, sir.
My pleasure, Steve. It's great to be on with you.
My goodness, you must be a busy guy this time of year. Probably all year, but especially around this time of year, right?
Well, this is my busiest time for sure.
Yeah. I was looking at your bio, and you have had, still continue to have such an interesting life. I mentioned to my listeners a little earlier today that you have the distinction with Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer of topping two charts simultaneously. Do you know what two charts I'm talking about?
Well, I know one of them was Billboard's Christmas chart.
Yes, and I also noticed on your bio, well, as the most liked Christmas song, Dr. Elmo, and also the most disliked Christmas song. Did I read that correctly in your
That's right. I know. The most liked and most disliked, for sure.
At the same time, I mean, I guess any artist likes to strike a chord, and that there's no denying that, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like the first time I sang the song, I could see that, the people were kind of puzzled when they heard me sing it.
And you mentioned the Billboard chart. It has become the most requested Christmas song in radio history, hitting number one 3 years in a row, and you surpassed Bing Crosby. Now, this song is something. It's something very important in our musical history. How do you put your arms around that? Do you look back and say, I made a very, very great, famous Christmas song? Do you ever sit back and allow yourself that?
Well, occasionally now. But, for many years, every Christmas on December 26th, the day after Christmas, the bottom would drop out, and then I would always wonder if it's going to be popular again. And, then nothing would happen until December, and then people would start requesting it. And it's one of those songs where I think that in the beginning, people thought that they're probably going to play White Christmas and the Christmas song anyway. But if you want to hear Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, you better call in and request it, because I'm not sure if they're going to play it or not.
Well, in 2012, everyone, it returned to number one on the Christmas charts after doing so 27 years earlier. It's multi-generational, Dr. Elmo. This song, thankfully, will never go away. And I mean that in a very good, positive way.
Oh, thank you, Steve. I think a lot of the younger generation sometimes don't always share their parents' taste in music. But with Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, I think a lot of people thought, a lot of kids would say, Grandma getting throttled by a reindeer at Christmas? Well, that's pretty cool.
There were some people at a time, and this song has had such a controversial history. The Grey Panthers weren't too happy with this song.
Well, when it first started getting played on the radio, I got a job playing at a San Francisco club called the Boarding House. And when I drove down there were a lot of people standing out in front, and it seemed to me like it was going to be a great night. I thought people were even standing in line to get in, which was not the case with me in those days.
Mm-hmm.
And still not. But anyway.
Oh, I don't know about that.
But when I got up there, all the big crowd that was milling around, they all had picket signs that said, "Stay away from this concert. This song is ageist, sexist, and violent against women." And so I got out of the car, started walking in with my guitar, And they all said, this one person had a sign of waving it in front of me, and it said, "What's so funny about a dead grandma?"
Oh. Do you say to yourself at that point, can't people just take a joke and lighten up? Or did it bother you that people thought that way?
Well, I was a little frightened by this because they found my phone number and called me up and told me to stop singing the song. So I didn't realize, that later on it became sort of a big thing for me, because that night all the news media turned out, all the local TV stations, and covered that. And then, of course, everyone in the world wanted to know what it was all about, and it brought a lot of attention to the song.
Yeah. Something you must be proud about a lot of things about this song and your other work, which we're going to speak about in a bit. But your song, "Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer," was only one of 4 Christmas songs approved for the Armed Forces playlist during Operation Desert Storm. That's got to give you a nice warm feeling.
That did give me a wonderfully warm feeling, because that came after it had been picketed and banned on a lot of radio stations in the early days, and then to have that, have it to be one of the 4 songs for the armed services overseas, it was really a wonderful thing. And they were looking for songs that were, not religious songs.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't, insult the people in the Middle East.
I had the pleasure of seeing you perform live at Charles Rosenay's Weekend of 100 Rock Stars from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to tell you, I mean, you must see this from the stage, but I looked around while you were singing, and everyone had this smile on their face from ear to ear. When you see that in an audience, again, that has to be so wonderfully gratifying. It makes so many people happy with this song.
It really is wonderful, and sometimes people ask if I get tired of singing it. And, maybe I would get tired of singing it, but every time I do, people, light up with recognition. It makes it so much fun that I always love to sing it.
Well, can I put you on the spot? Can you sing maybe a 15-minute clip from, speaking of not singing the song, "Don't Make Me Play That Grandma" song again?
Sure.
This is
wonderful. No, don't make me play that grandma song again. Though that request line glows and glows, just as bright as Rudolph's nose. I'll do anything you say. I'll play them barking dogs all day, but please don't make me play that grandma song again.
I'm going to you. That's so wonderful. See, now I'm smiling. You have me smiling ear to ear again. Your music is just such a happy, fun music. May I let our listeners know a bit about your background? I mean, you are so much more than Dr. Elmo the singer. Doctor is you are a veterinarian.
I am, yes. I was raised around horses when I grew up in Kentucky and then moved to Florida to a horse farm. And so I wanted to be a veterinarian so I could work on racehorses. And after I became a veterinarian, I worked on racehorses. Well, I became racetrack veterinarian at Aqueduct and Belmont Park and Saratoga. Worked for the New York Racing Association.
One of the horses that you worked with, Needles, had quite a run. You want to tell us?
Yes, actually, before I was a veterinarian, I wanted to be a jockey, and I was an exercise boy until I got too big to be a jockey. But one of the horses I rode was when he was raised on the farm where I worked, and he was so sick he almost died. He had pneumonia, and the veterinarian came and gave him injections every day. And so they gave him so many injections that they started calling him Needles. And,
that's a cute story.
Yeah, that's how he got his name. Mm-hmm. So I was, when he became a yearling, I started riding him, broke him to ride and exercised him for about a year until he became like mid-2-year-old, and then he started racing on the racetrack, and he won the Kentucky Derby and was second in the Preakness by a nose, and then won the Belmont Stakes as well.
Oh my gosh! Imagine you were this close to a Triple Crown winner.
I know. It was my first brush with fame.
Mm-hmm. And certainly not your last. It's been quite evident.
Well,
I like the way you celebrated your 70th birthday, by the way.
Oh. Running the
want to
New
tell us
York Marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the experience of a lifetime. I ran it twice. But when I turned 70, I thought, I better run it now before I get too old. And I just had a wonderful time running that New York Marathon. What a race.
You finished in the top 10 in your age group. That is
amazing.
Not amazing, but that's tremendous.
I was really happy about that. And I think there were maybe like 122 70-year-olds in the race that year, and I was, I think, like ninth. So I was pretty happy about that.
I mean, you've been featured in Runner's World magazine, which is the magazine of the runners, and you also won a gold medal representing the USA in 2013 in Brazil.
Yeah, that was only about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I went to Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've always been just sort of a recreational runner around here, and this friend of mine last year, who's pretty much a world-class runner, said, why don't you come down to San Diego? They're having the National 5K Cross-Country Championships, and if you come down there, we'll have enough people for a team. So I went down, and to my absolute amazement, I won, and won a gold medal down there. So a couple of months ago, he said, well, they're having the World Championship in Brazil. He said, the competition is a little stiffer down, there, where people from all over the world. So we went to Brazil, and again, to my amazement, I won another gold medal there.
I think you should stop being amazed, Dr. Elmo, because you're obviously a wonderful athlete. I mentioned earlier that there's so much more to your music, of course, than your world famous song "Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer." First of all, listeners, visit drelmo.com. It's just as it sounds, drelmo.com. Dr. Elmo has so much great merchandise on that website. Could you tell us a little bit about your bluegrass albums? I know you're a bluegrass singer, and you have some wonderful bluegrass albums. Can we talk about those for a bit?
Oh, thank you, yes. Well, for many years, with the advent of the grandma song, I started recording a lot of funny Christmas songs, and we didn't always get good reviews on those albums, because I think a lot of times, novelty or, funny, humorous songs are not as in vogue as they used to be back in the day. Mm-hmm. But anyway, and I've always been a bluegrass player, and I've been a banjo player, and I played with bluegrass bands, pretty much my whole career. So I thought, well, maybe I'll make a bluegrass album. So I made a bluegrass Christmas album, and I think that a lot of the reviewers, for the first time in my life, gave me good reviews because I wasn't singing "Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer." I got to say, they said some nice things about my banjo playing, and maybe they just thought, what a relief.
Who would you say inspired you as a young man, or to pick up the banjo? Is there a particular name or two in bluegrass, or any genre of music that inspired you to become into music?
Well, definitely, yeah. Well, when I was in my teen years, even though I lived in Kentucky and then moved to Florida, I was kind of an Elvis Presley fan. And for some reason, when I was maybe around 30 or so, out of Kentucky in New York, I was driving along the road one day, and Foggy Mountain, Earl Scruggs' Foggy Mountain Breakdown came on the radio. And I was stunned. I couldn't imagine anyone being able to get that kind of a sound. I kind of assumed it was a banjo, but up until then, I hadn't really heard much bluegrass or banjo playing. Mm-hmm. And I always thought, boy, that's something that I would absolutely love to do, but never had anything to do with music. And I started playing the banjo when I was about 35, which is really late in life, and I always sometimes wish I had started it earlier, but I've loved it for a long time since I started late.
Is it self-taught, Dr. Elmo, or did you take lessons with the banjo, or did you pick it up on your own?
Well, when I first started, there weren't any teachers around. And there weren't many banjo players around either. There was, Earl Scruggs and Don Reno and just a few others.
Yeah.
And the Kingston Trio had a banjo player, but they weren't playing. Dave Gard played pretty good, but he was nothing like Earl Scruggs. It was a whole different thing. And so I started trying to learn on my own just by listening and trying to figure out what they were doing. And then in a few years, I was learning how to play, plus I began to find some other good banjo players who could show me the way it was done.
Listeners, we're speaking with the iconic Dr. Elmo. And once again, website is drelmo.com. Dr. Elmo, you have a Twitter page also, a Twitter account. Could you tell us?
Yes, it's Twitter at Grandma's Reindeer.
Okay. I know I follow you, Dr. Elmo, so at Grandma's Reindeer. Also, I want to mention...
So much.
Oh, listen, it's my pleasure. I also want to mention to all our listeners that you can buy your CDs, your reindeer toys. They're at a lot of the CVS and places like that. But definitely, I think the place to go would be on your website. Wouldn't you agree, drelmo.com?
I would agree with that statement.
Yeah, and the merch like I said earlier, that you have so much to choose from the merchandise. It's guys, if you go on drelmo.com, you'll spend more than a few minutes on there because there's so much going on. And there's so much that you have done. Does it bother you at all, Dr. Elmo, that I guess I'm sure you're happy, of course, with Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. But do you ever say to yourself, I've done so much more in music. I just wish people would get into that part of me. Well, they can do that if they go on your website. But does that ever go through your mind?
Well, definitely it does, and that's such a good thing. That's such a good question. Of course, I've spent a lot of time. I've probably recorded maybe 25 albums in my career. Right. Some of them in early Bluegrass albums, and then a lot of novelty songs and Halloween songs and everything. And I believe that we've written some songs that are probably almost as good as Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, and so would like to be known for more. But if you, I have had some people say that, Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer is a career-stopping hit, and they mean by that it's so much of a hit, and it's so big that you'll never be able to get anything that tops it. No matter what you do, everybody will say, "Yeah, pretty good, but it's no Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer." But I'm very happy to have it. I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
Oh, sure. I recently heard an interview with Paul McCartney, and he was saying, people say to him throughout his entire solo career, you'll never top the Beatles. And he said, well, I know that, but I make music. I'm not going to stop making music just because I'll never top the Beatles. That kind of sounds like what you're saying. Hear that. Yeah, and I mean that's kind of almost like the sentiment that you're relaying to us too. I mean, you're a music person. You're not going to stop making music just because.
Well, yeah, it's so much fun, and when I perform, our bluegrass band was getting fairly well known in California, and we were playing all over California and some other places. And then after the Grandma song came out, it was totally different from anything we were doing in our bluegrass band. Mm-hmm. So when we were trying to get bookings and say he's the guy that sang Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, instead of enhancing our opportunity to get bookings, a lot of people would say, well, what's he going to do when he gets here? Is he just going to sing Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer for 45 minutes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure that's the nature of the
music. They thought, well, that's the only thing they knew about me.
Mm-hmm. Could you give our listeners one or two titles of your bluegrass stuff that you are, well, I'm sure you're proud of all your babies, so to speak, but what's one or two songs that you really say, wow, you know what, this is one of my best? Like if we were looking for a song or two to listen to of your bluegrass period, what might you suggest?
There's a couple of tunes that I've gotten good reviews on that I think are good, but both of them are instrumental, so they're not, I'm not singing on them. Mm-hmm. One of them is called Green Sleeves. It's on my Bluegrass Christmas album, and also Bach's Yea, Sweet Joy of Man's Desiring. And I've had I've had a lot of good comments on those two things but I'm only playing the banjo on it and I'm not singing.
And of course, once again, everyone, you can get these excellent bluegrass CDs. I've heard some of your work besides Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. Get that on drelmo.com. I do, however, want our listeners to know you sold nearly, maybe even at this point, over 12 million copies of Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. So even though, people might say, well, what else has Dr. Elmo done? You've done, like I said, 25 CDs besides this one song.
Yeah.
And before I say goodbye, first of all, I want to tell you it's been a real honor and a privilege because you are a treasure to all of us, especially during the Christmas season. But your music has so much more to offer for people, and I hope everyone goes on your website, drelmo.com, and picks up some of that other merchandise. And as I say goodbye, I'd like to play a song that you did, being it's the Christmas season, Christmas All Across the USA. Could you tell us a little bit about that song?
Yes, I co-wrote that with my writer, Rita Abrams, and we thought it might be nice to do, since everybody knows me for the Grandma song, do something that is much more heartfelt and, maybe in the Christmas spirit of sort of Bing Crosby's White Christmas.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't sure if I could pull it off singing a serious song, but this is my attempt to do it.
Dr. Elmo, I mean, you did. It's a beautiful song. That's why I was looking for something to play as we say goodbye to you. And this shows certainly the other side of your many-faceted singing career, and it's a beautiful song. It's called Christmas All Across the USA. And Dr. Elmo, thank you so much. I appreciate you giving us some time here. And once again, everyone, it's drelmo.com. Twitter is @Grandma's Reindeer. And I know you'll be busy this time of year, but try to relax and enjoy the holidays. And I want to thank you for all the joy you've given so many millions of us fans. And continued good health and good success to you, Dr. Elmo.
This morning I got up and read the paper. Started feeling gloomy as could be. I wondered where to find the Christmas spirit. And here's the answer that came through to me. It's in the big Montana sky. It's in the Rocky Mountains high. It's in the wide Nebraska plain and down the rugged coast of Maine. The Mississippi running free, the Blue Ridge Hills of Tennessee. It's Christmas all across the USA. It's in the Carolina pines and in the Pennsylvania mines, Alaska's glaciers white with snow, the frosted fields of Idaho. It's in the people everywhere with loving hearts and dreams to share. Yes, it is Christmas all across the USA. Now people, I know this world is changing and things are moving fast, and some folks are complaining that the real Christmas is past. But I've been all around this country, and one thing that I know is there's Christmas spirit everywhere you go. It's in the big Montana sky, it's in the Rocky Mountains high, it's in the wide Nebraska plain, and down the rugged coast of Maine, the Mississippi running free, the Blue Ridge Hills of Tennessee. Yes, it's Christmas all across the USA. And the Carolina Yes, it is Christmas all across the USA.